Hi everyone, today I'm joined by Darrel Rowe, agronomist with PGG Wrightson. Darrel, I just want to ask you about pasture renovation and selecting paddocks for cropping for farmers this autumn.
Yeah, we're coming into the season. It's been a difficult one. It's quite dry, and farmers really should need to assess where they're at. Each paddock should be assessed on its merits, on the varieties that are still left in there, the density of those paddocks, weed burdens, fertility, and also looking at paddocks if they're wanting to get that quick feed to choose something that's going to move away very quickly.
In terms of assessing paddocks, what are the best methods in terms of ranking paddocks for farmers who might have to pick?
Yeah, if they're looking at a perennial pasture, they should look through the paddock, and if it's around 50% to 70% of species required, they should look at probably oversowing those paddocks. If it's below that, they would normally look at doing a pasture renovation program. Yeah. And also assessing the weed burden in there as well, and getting on top of that.
So in terms of ranking paddocks, Darrel, if you've got more than one paddock that you feel needs to be resown, how would you go about doing that, or what are the primary criteria you would look at?
Well, certainly looking at having a plan going forward into the season beyond just that requirement for the autumn now. So looking at the paddocks, setting those up would be what's going to give you the quickest response to get back into full production, and then going through from there, how far they are away from the dairy, where they're situated on the farm, and that sort of has goes a long way to getting those paddocks back into production. Some of those paddocks will take a little bit longer as we go later in the season, and it will depend on what is in those existing paddocks as well. Yeah. So some of that perennial ryegrass will be a little bit slower coming out of the break. If they were Italian ryegrass paddocks, they might bounce back a little bit quicker. So,
and for people in the lower rainfall areas, where they might not have enough moisture to get a perennial ryegrass up, it has happened in the past. Things like that. What are the options for those guys? Are there alternative cropping options? Maybe?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of options around using annual ryegrass or Italian ryegrasses to sow over the top of perennial pastures if they're run down, or if they haven't had those, is to maybe use a cereal. And if they're chasing early feed, there's a number of options they could use around brassicas in with the ryegrass as well. Yeah. And then that'll lead through to filling in the season later, depending on what they want to do with those paddocks later in the year.
So you're talking about, I guess, some of those blends of maybe oats or barley along with ryegrass, or even rye corn, or
so you've got, well, for a start, you've got brassicas that'll fill in that gap very early from early sowings, and they provide us with a lot more dry matter and high quality milking feed. And as the season moves, we can move back into those cereals. Some of the dryland options around cereals like oats and rye corn can be quite valuable because you can sow them dry and wait for the break, because as we know, if you're sowing after the break, we can throw ourselves out by 3 to 4 weeks in production.
Okay, thanks very much for your time, Darrel. For more information, please check out the Dairy Australia website, or indeed talk to your local agronomist to get more details on this topic.